So, Chris, what I really wanted to talk to you today about is really why you chose EXP. And just before we get into that, why don't you tell us a little bit about what you were doing and how it was related to the real estate industry before joining EXP?
Okay, well,
Yeah,
I came into real estate really as a passive investor in
a little
multifamily
closer to the mic. Yeah,
apartment complexes.
yeah,
Okay, and did while I was doing that, I was still working a W-2 job.
yeah.
But shortly out into that role, I left corporate America.
So, what were you doing at that W-2 job too?
I was working in corporate finance.
Yeah.
Most of my career doing that was at Dell Computer,
Okay.
and I did a variety of roles. I
Yeah.
went into corporate planning.
Yeah.
I did treasury, where I raised over $1 billion of capital.
Yeah.
In my various roles there.
Yeah.
What else I did? I was a sales controller.
Yeah.
I was in our product group helping with the long-term planning of our servers.
We're not going to bypass that $1 billion so quick. I want to ask you a little bit about it. No, because I'm just interested. So, like, what were some of the ways? Like, what were some of the creative ways that you went about raising that $1 billion for your position that you're in?
Well, a lot of those deals were they're called securitizations. Okay, so
Okay.
prior to Dell, I was over at a joint venture between Texaco and Saudi Aramco.
Okay.
We did business with Texaco though, so we securitized Texaco credit card receivables.
Yeah.
Okay, so you buy gas on a card, we'd basically sell that paper to Wall Street, and we had it rated A grade paper, so investment grade.
Yeah.
Got a very, very low rate on it. And same thing with at Dell. What we did is we started doing this with our partner at the time. It was a funding partner.
Yeah.
And so we were securitizing Dell leases.
Okay?
Yeah. And then eventually we bought out that partner. We took it to a captive finance company and started doing it on our own.
Yeah. So let me ask you this. Were there any things that you took from raising all that money and were able to bring it over to your real estate career?
That's an interesting question. I've never been asked that. I think that, one is just really
make sure you get
attention to detail is very important. These things we had, sometimes you think that all the contracts we have to do in real estate are bad.
Right.
We had these huge documents, and we'd go through negotiations with our respective partners and everything, and our investment banks that we had. The lawyers would sometimes, revise them overnight.
Yeah.
Had to go through all the red lines, and I can't tell you how many times I fell asleep while reviewing these big documents. And I have to wake up early the next morning to finish them.
And then they changed, and you got to review the new ones.
Just sometimes we debate over, just very simple phrases, and versus and/or, and just a lot of minutia.
Yeah.
That could have a huge difference in the way we get paid and are funded. So, just really attention to detail.
Yeah.
Need a lot of diplomacy. There's a lot of egos on the line, a lot of different parties with different interests.
So that plays into real estate. A lot of egos on the line.
I mean,
egos and diplomacy. I see exactly what you're playing.
Yeah, but there was a definitely a need to be diplomatic and at the same time really push for
the deal done.
It's right for us and get the deal done. Yes.
Yeah.
And something that would be saleable to Wall Street.
Yeah. So, and then you were talking about the other day when we were out to dinner, you were talking about like how you looked at EXP a little bit differently based on the field that you were in. Do you want to elaborate on that a little bit about like how you looked at the company and what you saw more so of just as a business itself? And you use a certain terminology for the cloud-based EXP Realty. Do you know what I'm referring to?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of my many roles at Dell was I was helping to integrate these software as a service companies that we were acquiring. Okay.
Yeah.
Now the cool term is cloud-based.
Yeah.
It's basically very, very similar, if not the same thing.
Yeah.
Okay. And so these were companies.
So software to service.
Software as a service.
Software as a service. Yeah.
Yes. These were companies that were typically fairly early or middle in their life. Okay.
Yeah.
Not too old. And they were struggling typically. They were usually losing money. They had great products.
Yeah.
And a lot of potential, but they did not have the skill they needed to be profitable.
Yeah.
Okay. So we came in and you integrate them into our managed services division. Okay. And one of the things I did was do the financials on them, the projections and everything.
Yeah.
On how we would get them to profitability.
Yeah.
Okay. And what I see is that, these companies, there's a lot of, call it the infrastructure, you call it the plumbing or the highways, whatever. Okay.
Yeah.
There's a lot of fixed cost in putting that in place to get the product to market.
Yeah.
Okay. But if you don't have enough people, okay, enough seats filled, then you're not generating enough revenue to cover those fixed costs. Okay. So once you actually get to break even, okay, your marginal costs per user are relatively light. Okay. So what I saw with EXP, kind of that same pattern, it looked like the companies were acquiring, where at the time, we had, I think, 1,700 agents and we're losing money.
Yeah.
Okay. But I saw that as a temporary thing. We just needed to scale and get enough agents or seats. That's the way you looked at it in the past.
Yeah. Yeah.
To get to that break-even point. And then I expected that we'd scale dramatically to solid profitability. And that's exactly what happened.
Exactly what happened.
Except faster and stronger than I could have predicted. So
what are some of the ways that, I mean, especially coming from the background that you have, that you see as why this business model itself with EXP is so successful?
Well, the reason it's so successful is, first of all, got to give credit to Glenn Sanford. The guy he's both a genius and he's also very humble as well. And when he was his prior brokerage, he was starting to build teams across country, and he was paying different caps, different sets of fees, and everything at all these different market centers. And he realized that he was the one that was generating the leads and doing all the work. And he was paying the brokerage all this money. And he was like, why am I doing this? So he really set out to build the ideal brokerage that he'd want to work for himself, not as a CEO, but as an agent. And so, first off, there was a lot of things he liked about, Keller Williams.
Yeah.
So, he really tried to take over the culture. Okay.
Yeah.
And the emphasis on training.
Yeah.
That was really great. He liked profit sharing, but he thought, hey, let's make it better. And without all the encumbrances of paying for bricks and mortar at every market center location and headquarters, that generates a tremendous amount of free cash that you can use to give it back to the agents to help grow the business. Yeah. So that's what's born the rev share program. And also, we got equity. Yeah. That, he's very generously given to the agents who've helped grow the company, both for production and attraction. Yeah.
I think it's big too, just what you touched on as well, is he didn't just pull cash that didn't exist before in the real estate process. The cash that is the revenue sharing that became all this was already there in real estate deals and within real estate offices. He just structured it differently to give it back to the agents. Is that right?
Right. Because what's happening now is that, there was a time when offices were needed. Yeah. Back well before our time, I understood that people went to offices and they had these big binders of listings. They would update, daily, you get a new listing, put a page in the binder. Yeah. And so consumers would come into the offices to flip through
the binder.
Yes. Yeah. And of course, they needed to come there for training. We didn't have Zoom and all the other platforms for communication like we do. We didn't have the internet. Yeah. Okay. So basically, if a company's spending, say, $1 billion a year on brick and mortar, okay, how necessary is that? Are they high producing agents? Yeah. Are they spending their time in the office? Or are they spending their time out visiting clients or prospecting? Yeah. You don't need to be at the office to win in real estate. Yeah. In fact, you're probably wasting time, Yeah. Driving to and from the office, get caught
talking
up
at the water cooler.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, I think it's just a incredible way to help boost productivity and to cut costs that really don't add value to agents anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So why don't you talk us to a little bit about what you saw for your future, not even just the company and EXP itself, for you leaving corporate America and taking a position that, number one, it doesn't pay you right away. So like, what was your big motivator to make that change?
Well, first of all, I left corporate America a little bit before, let's see, March 2015
Okay.
versus this is a year and a half later when I joined
Yeah.
EXP. And I was really focused on working to build financial and time freedom for my family and I. Okay.
So why'd you choose real estate? No, I'm just kidding.
Maybe I'm stubborn. I don't know. But no, actually it was really good. I was the first couple of years, I have to say, were really tough.
Yeah.
You know, I was well compensated in corporate America. I had great benefits.
Yeah.
And just took all that away. I still had the lifestyle indicative of my old salary. So
yeah,
we had to make some adjustments. It took a couple of years, I think, on our heels, but I did some creative financing.
Yeah.
I worked my ass off, had my back against the wall.
Yeah.
And I had a huge why that I never wanted to have another job again.
Why didn't you want to have another job?
Well, because I don't want somebody else dictating my pay.
Yeah.
I don't want somebody else dictating my hours, dictating my job security.
Yeah.
You know, you pay a much higher your tax much higher as an employee.
Yeah.
And just so many different downsides. And, you know, I felt like I had been through it. Served me well for that. But, you know, really I my multifamily mentor had me read the cash flow quadrant. Okay. I don't know if you've ever read that or heard of it.
I'm familiar with it. I haven't read it myself.
Well, anyway, after reading it, you know, it really divides the 4 ways that people get paid and working. You know, it's like, you know, W-2s, okay, your employees, they're self-employed, okay. Most real estate agents own a job instead of have a job. Not much better. Yeah. And then on the upper right, you own a business that's scalable. And that by owning a business, that means one where you can leave the business for a few months or and the business continues to function and grow with or without you. And then there's an investor. Okay. So to me, it seemed like the EXP model was just beautifully designed to switch agents from the lower left quadrant to the right quadrant. Okay. On the business side, really, the rev share does that. Okay? Yeah. You know, I'm able to go on vacation pretty much whenever I want. I can leave the business and it will run itself. Okay. Yeah. On the lower right hand side, you know, just all the stock that we've gotten. I'm an investor in EXP. Yeah. As are, you know, all agents by the time they've done their first transaction. And so for me, seeing that and, you know, what my own forecast was as far as comparing it to the software as a service companies I worked with before. Yeah. You know, it was just a no brainer. Yeah. Absolutely. You know, I think I was my sponsor's easiest recruit ever.
And as far as like what you're now looking to do to take your skills that you've acquired from corporate America, financing, and like that entire like almost lifestyle that you had and bring it over to agents, what are some of the ways that you're able to help agents with your past history?
Well, it's a little bit non-conventional. So
that's what I like about it.
Yes, I try to think differently. Okay. And you know, the way I run my my real estate portfolio, I try to think of it like from a family office perspective. Yeah. And you know, that incorporates you know, asset allocation, taxation, charitable giving. Yeah. And you know, your strategy overall. Yeah. Generational wealth, asset protection, all that kind of stuff. Yeah. And I feel like I'm pretty well schooled in a lot of this stuff. And so, you know, I can help our agents that want it, you know, like, hey, are you interested in multifamily? You know, do you want to have a way to funnel your earnings from EXP into something that's going to, you know, help grow while providing tax advantages for you? I can help with that. You know, what about your tax strategy for your legal entities, if any? You know, do you have your business set up in a tax efficient manner? Yeah. So you're keeping more of your money and, you know, not giving Uncle Sam any more than he deserves. Yeah. You know, so just really, you know, I'm not an investment advisor by any means, but I think I know a lot more than the average person at that. So, yeah, you know, I always love helping the ones that are interested in that kind of stuff and like figuring out like, hey, what are some different ways you could deploy your assets to earn a better risk adjusted return? Yeah.
Absolutely. So what could you say to agents out there that right now that are on the fence and thinking about joining the Wolfpack and Chris at EXP and just need to hear maybe something a little bit else?
Okay. Just do it, as Nike said. No, seriously, I have never heard anybody at EXP say, I wish I would have joined EXP later.
Wow.
It's
Yeah.
really, there's no capital at risk doing it. You can always go back to your own broker. Really, it's an ego risk. If you're putting your ego at risk, thinking that you want to grow a team and build this great international business that we all have the same opportunity to do. And are you willing to put yourself out there and do the work, make it happen? It's certainly not a get rich quick scheme, but it can change lives in ways I can't even describe.
Love it, Chris. Great job.
Thank you.
So here's what we're going to do next.